Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a program that's going to ask the user to enter either plus sign, multiplication, division, modulus, or minus sign, and after that would be the first input from the user, and after that we're going to ask the user to enter one number. It could be like 2 or any other any number they want to enter, and enter the second number. And based off of what they enter in the first right here, that would be a char data type. And we're going to do multiplication on these two numbers, addition, division, or a modulus, or 2 minus 2. And we're at the end, we're going to just display the result. So we're going to declare some variables. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare some variables. So step 1. So I'm going to comment my code out as we're moving along. So step 1, declare variables. So the first thing we need is number 1, and then we need second one is num2, and then we actually need the result. So if we do addition or anything else, we want to store that in a third variable, so we're going to use that. And then the fourth one we need is a char. We're going to use a char. Char is a single character in a string. So we have used string before, we have used integers before. So char is a single character. So that would go in as, we'll call that operator, operation, whatever you want to call it. So that would be, if you want to set it to like a single plus sign, that would work. But right now we don't want to set it to something. We're going to ask the user and then assign it, right? And then the next thing we need, step 2, and that would be 2 is user interaction, right? So we're gonna ask the user to enter all those things for us. So let's actually type out a message for the user. So COUT, and we're gonna say welcome to the simple arithmetic calculator. And we're gonna add the end line. Skip to the next line, and then we're going to ask the user. So this is just a message for the user, and now we're going to ask the user to enter something. Then it will be choose an operation. So in here we'll tell the user plus sign, minus, multiplication, or division. So let's keep it simple. Do we want to do modulus? Let's do modulus. Yeah. Modulus, I'll explain how modulus works when we get to it. If you're not familiar with that, I think everybody is familiar with that so far. All right, so now the user is going to enter that, and as soon as they enter, I need to save that in operator or operation, whatever you called it. And operator is, I think, it's reserved in C++, so I don't think I'm able to use that, so I'm going to use operation. But I think that's what I used above. All right, so whatever the user enters, I'm going to save it in using cin. And the next what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user, prompt the user to enter 2 numbers, one at a time. One at a time. And I'm going to do the exact same thing I did above. I'm going to use COUT. And I'm going to say, please enter the first number. And I'm going to use cin to catch it. And do the same thing for the second number, see out. Come on. All right, and I'm going to tell the user to enter, please enter the second number. And I'm going to use cin to catch it and save it in num2, just like this. So now, last thing we need to do is the calculations. We declared some variables, we asked the user for some stuff, then we saved it in those variables. So now all 3 out of 4 variables have, by the time we get to line 22, they're going to have some sort of variable assigned to each one of them, except for the result. So the result is what we need to calculate, right? We're not going to be asking the user for the result. So there are multiple ways you can do this. One thing I'm going to be introducing here is the switch statement. Switch statement is really fast, really useful. If you want to use it in your code, you're welcome to. And anytime you have an operation like this one, you want to use the switch statement. Switch statement is just switch, and then you have to pass in how do you want the switch. Let me actually check it. And all right, how do you want the switch statement to operate? So we want the switch statement to operate off of whatever the user enters. So we have would be 5 inputs, and depending on each of the input, we're going to do something. So each one of them is going to turn into a case. So that would be, first one will be a case, and the first case will be a plus sign. And as soon as user enters a plus sign, we want something to happen, right? So what do we want it to happen? We want the result to equals num1 plus num2, right? So if it's a plus sign, we're going to do some addition. So that's the case right here. So it's going to switch based off of what the operation is, whatever the user enters. The first case is a plus sign. The second case is, let's say, a minus sign, right? And each case, you just type it in like this. And this is the first case, colon, what do you want it to happen? That's what you want it to happen. The next one, we have the exact same thing we're doing above. So I'm just going to copy that. And I'm going to be a lazy programmer, and I'm just going to change the sign. So it's going to be a minus, right? And next one, so I'm going to be even more lazy. Copy this whole thing. And now we have multiplication. So you see, as soon as I copy and pasted it, it gave me an error. You cannot have the same cases again. So every time we have to have a different case. So now we need a multiplication. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the multiplication. And we also need a division. Oops. And if it's a division, we're going to divide. And then the last one we need is a modulus. All right, so the modulus, this is how the modulus works. Let me get my pen. If you're not familiar with modulus, so modulus is similar to division. So let's say you have 10 modulus 2, right? So you have 10 modulus, let's do 3. So we'll do 3 this time. And this symbol is modulus. Forgot to change it. So this is a modulus. So modulus is like a percent symbol. So 10 modulus 3, the way you read it would be 10 divided by 3. So 10 divided by 3, and you do the division like you always do. So 3, how many times 3 goes into 10? 3 times, that is 9. That is supposed to be 9. And then 1 is left, right? So now this is division. And then there'll be 3.1 or something after that. But you stop here with modulus and you take the remainder. This is the remainder. And this is the answer for modulus. So whatever is left, that's what you take. If you're doing division, you take this right here, number. But if you're doing modulus, you take the remainder. So in this case, 10 modulus 3, the result would be 1. All right, simple enough. And let me go back. And change this to modulus. All right, so I knew this was going to happen. Should we do? The fix for this is actually a little complicated, so I actually don't want to get into that. Actually, let's get rid of modulus right now. And we're only going to do the 4 basic things. All right. So at least you know what modulus is. So then every time you have a switch statement, you have to have a default case. So default case would be what we cannot trust the user, right? So we cannot assume the user is always going to type in plus minus multiplication or division symbol. They could type in the modulus, right? Then you gotta have a default symbol. If none of those apply, what do you want it to happen? So now we can tell the user COUT, and we can say error, invalid operation selected. So remember, we can only do what is 4 of these. If they say something else, we cannot do it, and that's the default case. And in this case, we just return 1 and end it. And what happens with this switch case is one thing I actually forgot also is every time you get into a case, it starts reading that code even below that. So every time you get into the case, you have to break that case. So you have to get out of this switch statement, right? So every time you have to end each case with a break statement. When you start writing it, you'll understand a little better why you need to do it. If I don't have it in there, what's going to happen is it's going to, if you don't have this break statement, so it's going to get into multiplication. This right here is going to execute this, then it's going to execute this, and then it's going to keep going. And it's going to execute this, it's going to execute all that code. When we add a break statement, that means it's going to skip all of the above, just like always. It's going to execute this, and then it's going to break out of the switch statement, and then it's going to go outside of this and execute the code that's after the curly braces. So that's why break statement is actually required for switch statement. So you actually don't have to use switch statement for your homework assignment. Your homework assignment is a little simpler than that, but I did want to do a little complicated one here. All right, so we're all done with the result. By the time we get to line 42, the result variable will have something assigned to it, unless it gets into default. Then at that point, the whole program just ends. So that's why it's return 1. Right. So now when we get to line 42, assuming we have something, we didn't go into default case, then we gotta print it out, which is step 4. Did we do step 3? I forgot to do step 3. Step 3 is the calculation. Let me actually write that down. Calculations, and then we have step 4, the output. Right? And we're just going to use COUT to write the output, and that would be oops, sorry. num1 whatever the operator is. So I'm trying to format this, right? So operation, and then we need a space, and then we need number 2, and then we need an equal sign with some spaces around it, and then finally the result. So now the way you would read it is it's going to print num1, whatever the user entered, we saved it, remember? And then space, operation, whatever the operation the user entered, I'm going to display that, space, number 2 equals to the actual result. Right? So let's run it and see how that's going to work out. So let me run it and let me share the other screen. And let me share the other screen. Where is the other screen? Here you go. All right. So now it's asking the operation. Let's do division, and let's do 10. First number is 10. Hit enter, and the second number is 2. Hit enter, and it says 10 divided by 2 equals to 5. All right, simple enough. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Email me, stop by during my office hours. Any question, any concerns you have, I highly recommend stopping by during my office hours, emailing me. I'm ready to help. And thank you.